Thank you very much for coming. Coming to my professional academic profile, I will just quickly run down it. I'm a member of ICAP, ACCA, PIPFA, Institute of Taxation Management, partner in Grant Thornton Anjum Rahman Chartered Accountants, founding partner of Junaidi Shoaib Asad Chartered Accountants, IFC 2 trainer on corporate governance, SCCP certified director, and also trained over 400 independent directors. I've been a former short-term consultant to the World Bank as well. Coming quickly to past services to the Institute, I have been a member of the Northern Regional Committee in the last 8 years. I have been the chairman of the Northern Regional Committee in 2015-16 and 2017-18. I also remain the secretary of the Northern Regional Committee. Since my qualification, I have been engaged in various ICAP activities and committees, starting from Auditing Standards Committee, Publishing Committee, and various other committees. Apart from ADCOM, I have probably participated in all committees. And I have also chaired the CPT Committee Lahore in 2014-15. And I also remained chairman of the Chartered Accountants Association North 2016 and 17. Coming quickly to the main contributions that we were able to make as a team in the NRC in last 8 years. NRC actually initiated the e-learning. The electronic portal was launched in 2015 and 16. Then NRC initiated MOU with Knowledge Now. That is a vendor which engages with foreign universities, and there are speakers who speak on various topics. And we were able to engage members. We were able to engage with actually in collaboration with Southern Regional Committee, maybe after 1 year, probably since 2016-17. It was joint sessions of NRC and SRC that were held with Knowledge Now. And the topics that were addressed in Knowledge Now webinars that are there now in NRC Knowledge Now repository at this time, there are 53 webinars that are there. And the topics that are included include topics of strategy, leadership, neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence, corporate governance, and most importantly, the digital disruption topics of robotic process automation, blockchain, etc. In 2017, we were able to arrange for the first time at the regional level in Northern Regional Committee a full-day conference for members that was titled CPAC Myths and Realities. Then we were also able to arrange another conference in the next year on technology digital disruption. And both of these conferences were attended by over 800 participants. And out of these 800, there were more than 750 members who attended these conferences. We also held SAP workshops for members, and last workshop we did on SAP was on SAP HANA, and we did 4 sessions on SAP, and we did 1 session on Oracle as well for capacity building of our members. We also introduced for the first time at the regional level a 3-day professional grooming activity for young members. Now the topics that were included in this workshop was starting about what is ICAP, what are the regional committees, what are the rules, so that people understand what's happening around them at ICAP level, and then going to the basics, how to present yourself, what should be the dressing, a full session on dressing in which we involved dress designers for males and females separately, and then how to take food, what are the eating basically decorum that should be there. Then apart from that, we also went on to the gurus. We engaged CEO Capco, who told about his progression from being a chartered accountant working industry to a CEO of a company, and what were the essential requirements. And youngsters were actually amazed by his contributions to the profession and to the industry at the same time. Then we also had a session on corporate finance in which a CIO of a big company in Lahore actually came up and told the youngsters how to do investment decisions practically. Obviously, these things are not written as such in the books. We also involved another senior member from industry who told, he was working as a CFO of a listed company, large listed company in Lahore. Again, he told about a lump style case study he prepared regarding his own organization from a nationalized entity to a very big listed entity in Pakistan. Then we also had 6 sessions on practice. There were a few sessions generally covering the legislation that is revolving around practice, And then we talked about, we engaged actually chartered accountants from small, medium, large, and big four firms who actually told the youngsters what are the requirements for practice now and what are the do's and don'ts of practice. We also had sessions, two sessions for industry members, how to be industry ready when you are coming out of the firm, and what are the actually expectations and requirements of the owners, business owners, when you work for them or the corporates. The last year, I got an opportunity to work with the PIB committee of ICAP, and we actually held 12 webinars. Out of these, 10 webinars were on top 10 areas of industry in which our chartered accountants are employed. The good thing about these webinars was that after each webinar, a post-webinar paper was also published. And this is very, very important going forward, that some sort of reasonable publications come out at ICAP level as well. We at NRC in 2017 established an industry placement committee. We thought that placement is a major issue faced by the members. And in that committee, when I chaired for 1 year, we had one session in which there was a mock interview session. We had a time slot on a Saturday that is normally an off day in Pakistan. In many entities, from 10:30 to 5:30, we engaged 14 CFOs of big companies in Lahore, and we placed them in 7 groups, in 7 panels, in different rooms of ICAP. And there was a walk-in interview for young chartered accountants. There was a sample JD, and on the basis of that sample JD, the young chartered accountant gave the interview, and right after the interview, the panel actually handed over a sheet of strengths and weaknesses right after the interview to that particular person, which we thought was very useful for those young chartered accountants. Right after this session of open interviews, we had a mock interview session in the auditorium in which we had role players of all 3 sorts of interviews that we routinely have: the technical interview, the HR interview, and the CEO interview. And the role players were all chartered accountants, and the interview actually made all the routine mistakes that she saw in her routine time, and that was also very helpful for the young chartered accountants. Then we also had a session with the HR heads at law. In CASA front, we actually made CASA North much more vibrant. There were 3 student conferences. There had been actually no student conference in North before that. We also had a CASA Sports Week, and Sports Week we usually had just a cricket tournament, but this time around in 2017 we changed it to 6 sports. And for the winners, we had this event in all areas of the North, all major cities of the North, like Lahore, Islamabad, Faisalabad, Multan, and Peshawar. And then after 3-4 weeks, we arranged a Champions League. Now in the Champions League, we had winners and runner-up of all cities of North, and there was a contingent from Karachi as well of around 25-26 trainee students who actually participated in the Champions League for all these sports. So that was a good interaction between the students, Pan North as well as coming from Karachi as well, so I can say Pan Pakistan as well. We also did a professional grooming training workshop for training students as well in Lahore and Islamabad. Whenever you go for an election, there are certain agenda items. I had 3 agenda items in 2013. That was introduction of webinars, involvement of foreign speakers, CPD activities. All these 3 were accomplished. Mike Turner, you might have heard of him. In the southern region, he was very regularly coming there, but in the northern region, in the last 8 years, he came for 4 times, and I think he came similar times in south as well. But in the northern side, it was the first time that Mike Turner came in 2015-16 for the first time. As far as my agenda in 2017 was concerned, it was CPAC, technology and its impacts, improving CPD activities, and sectoral based activity. And I would say that with the help of the team members that we had at NRC, all of these agenda items that I shared in my election statement also met. Now coming to the most important part of my presentation to you, that is the vision for our institute. Having worked for ICAP in the last 8 years as a regional committee member, and before that working in different committees of ICAP. So if I see post-qualification from the day, maybe after 6 months or so, I was part of the first committee. So I've seen little about ICAP, what is happening. The main issue that I see that is currently, and most of the people who are running for the council are highlighting as well, is the governance structure. But if you allow me to say, there is no governance structure. And we really have to work on that, because that is the basic thing. And the governance structure need to be aligned with what we have in the different accounting institutes around the world. And it is very, very important that we make our executive professional, independent, and proactive as well. If I talk about North, the executive functions in North, executive functionaries are very less. We have very sketchy offices in North, especially in Lahore and Islamabad, which are major centers for members. So we have to work on that. And then there has to be a concept of segregation of duties. The executive is a full-time employee, has to work fully on the things, and then the council has to play the role of the board, and the council members have to play the role of an independent director. So that is the way forward. Then the council members have to go for the role that is of the board member. And I think that is very important for sustainability of our institute. Otherwise, we are getting into many problems just because of this very reason. If I talk about executive function, Islamabad is the federal capital, you know that. And in Islamabad, there is no government relationship department. Whenever we were doing events in Lahore, Islamabad, Pan North, anywhere, we had problems in inviting speakers. We had to look out for certain personalities. You can invite this person, you can invite that person. Ideally, if we have a government relationship department, a proper, robust department, the team should be interacting with all major departments of the government, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Commerce, Audit Oversight Board, Federal Board of Revenue, State Bank of Pakistan, you name it, they should have interaction with everyone. And maybe on a weekly basis, there has to be a very strong sort of a connection, which is totally missing. What we will achieve out of it, firstly, what we will achieve is, if we are having an event like the regional committees hold events, it will be easy to ask people to do those events, and the linkages will improve. Number one. Number two, there are so many job opportunities in the northern region in government sector activities. I understand there are a few entities that are NAP stricken. That's fine. But other than that, there are so many entities where 5 to 6 chartered accountants can easily be hired. So the placement issue that we have in hand can also be solved a bit, because the pay scales in the government now are far better than that was in the yesteryears. So that is very important part. Coming to the technological disruption part, I think this is the place and this is the time. The World Economic Forum says that in 2025, accounting profession or accounting qualification is the qualification that is going to be most hit by technology. So we have to start gearing up ourselves. Probably we are already late, and our members as well. And we have to do the serious capacity building on gearing up their technological skill set and their capacity building. What we can do here is, the idea that I have is mine, that we need to divide our membership into three maybe parts: the senior membership, the middle level membership, or the young membership. And then we can engage foreign universities for this purpose, maybe for the senior most members that we have, and there are employer support available with them, and their financial capability is good enough. They can then go for courses, certifications, diplomas, for improving their IT skill set, for preparing for this technological disruption. They can go for diploma certifications. ICAP can, executive team can shortlist for them. They can negotiate a reasonable rate with them, but they can go for that. Then we can go for maybe 51 to 200 ranking universities for a middle tier membership, or 300 ranking universities. And after 300 to 500 ranking universities, we can go for our young members. We can also go for our local universities as well for that purpose. Plus a center of excellence, which is being built, I understand now at Lahore, has to be built in other cities as well. And these center of excellences need to give very strong value added capacity building for our members. The option should be there for members on especially the areas of digital disruption and other disciplines as well. And there has to be some proper workshops, proper certifications that are coming out of the institute for that particular purpose. Again, going for students, we have to look now, since the new scheme is coming in 2030, what would the requirement when a person is coming out in the profession? Based on that, a strategy that council should make for 2030 at least, every action should be based on that, and the executives should be aligned, and their actions should be aligned based on that strategy. And then everything should be actually linked to that strategy for any sort of a action or any sort of a decision that has to be taken. and there has to be a continuous monitoring how much we are adhering to our strategy, whatever changes we want to make to our strategy. Then it should be a rolling sort of a thing, but it should be done. Placement is very, very important. I think with a simple mantra in that, and that is that you have an online portal, a very functional, proper portal. And through that online portal, we can give access to the foreign and the local recruiting agencies. And the foreign and local recruiting agencies can actually match their skill set, and they can get our chartered accountants hired in reasonable places. The foreign recruiting agencies I'm referring especially because the new chartered accountant, if I say about Lahore, is now getting now rupees 80,000, 85,000 as at start. Most of our people who are coming in the profession are coming from humble backgrounds. So with rupees 80,000 per month, maybe 85,000 per month, it's very difficult for that person to run his kitchen, his or her kitchen, maybe go on to support the family members who desperately see the son or the daughter is becoming a chartered accountant, they would be supporting. So that is very, very important that we look at that aspect of getting our chartered accountants working overseas especially. Whatever we can do else for the members, I think with engagement with existing employees is very weak as well. I've seen gone to various industries in Lahore and Islamabad. What I've seen is that there are very less places where I can see CA brand Pakistan there or some sort of engagement with those employers of chartered accountants. I think this is a major missing link. And then there is another issue that we are not working with the chambers, and we are not looking to new avenues where chartered accountants could be hired. For example, one of our friends got hired last year in the poultry industry, and he was telling me that his owner said to Poultry Association that this one person actually saved millions of rupees for me in the last 1 year. So now other organizations in the poultry industry are looking for chartered accountants. So we need to engage with the chambers. Probably any industry that is having a turnover of almost a 2 billion rupees turnover can hire the service of chartered accountants. Now, going to the recognition, I think recognition is very, very important, and we have been lacking recognition of our degree, especially in areas where immigration is available. You talk about Australia, you talk about Canada, you talk about US, you talk about UK. I don't think there is any place in which we have a MOU where we have a complete degree recognition. We need to map our syllabi with those institutes. We should try our level best that our recognition is improved, and whatever exam of experience is required or is still needed to be given, that should be given from Pakistan. So if a person wants to go abroad to start his livelihood, yes, getting a job is important, but academic qualification recognition is also important so that these two basic issues are resolved. Then if we look into the overseas chapters, I can just relate this to the overseas chapters as well. Our overseas chapters are doing probably a tremendous job with the limited resources they are having. Many of the representatives are sitting here right here as well. What I've seen is that overseas chapters also lack the same issues, also have the same issues as I have seen in the regional committee. There is no or lack of executive support with the overseas chapter. Every overseas chapter should have proper executive support. Then there should be resources allocated to these overseas chapters, because there are so many members who are giving money to ICAP in terms of membership money. So overseas chapters should also be financially reasonably strong enough to have their initiatives, and they can actually help in branding of ICAP in these areas. And with the help of executive, many things could be done, because when we talk about volunteers, there is a limitation to what volunteers can do. So there is a lot to be done in that aspect. And then when we talk about overseas chapters and talking about people going outside Pakistan, I think from these overseas chapters, we should include people in our mentorship program. I would say for every country, we should have at least 2 to 3 representatives. And we should also have a social media platform. ICAP officially have a social media platform of each country probably, especially where people are going for immigration. Because what will happen is that if a new person wants to go to that country, to the mentors or other people in that social media network, they can help maybe in the housing, maybe in the utilities, maybe in the child education, maybe which area to live simply and where to get halal food. There's so many issues when you're going overseas and trying to settle yourselves. So many things can be done in that aspect. Yes, the engagement with the overseas chapters is weak. The engagement generally that we have as an institute with the members is very, very weak. And what I've seen in the whole campaign in these past months is that members feel disengaged with the institute. The easier thing probably is that mostly we have chartered accounts. If I talk about North, we have from 2012 to 21, we have 50% of the membership. So this is a generation YZ we are talking about. They want to have answers on the social media. So what we can do is we need to have a team who is we should have a proper ICAP social media footprint in which people are actually noting points and the executive do actions on that aspect. And if there is any strategy alignment that has to be changed, or there has to be any decision made by the council, it should also be done appropriately. Entrepreneurship is very important. Looking at the job structure in Pakistan, economy is not going that much. We all know that. So what we can do is we can have incubation centers, the co-shared working space model that IT industry has. We can have maybe a shared working space in big cities that can house 25 chartered accountants. They can have shared boardroom and a kitchen. ICAP can give in all the facilities, bear the rental cost and the utility costs, and the members can be given the space for 1 year maybe, and after 1 year member would be asked, there could be a second working space as well, which would be a paid working space. But at least if we work on a free working space, we can harness more than 125 chartered accountants pan Pakistan, not necessarily in audit practice. They can work on offshore lines, they can work on tax side, they can work on advisory side. There are so many avenues they can work on. So I've talked about branding.
Yes,
For branding,
Asad bhai, if you can summarize that one so people can ask you question also.
So I'm just
This the time restriction सिर्फ है इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
Okay, I will just conclude my comments. I always say this is our institute and we all need to play a part. People sitting in overseas chapters, they are mashallah already playing a part. I did my bit when I was working as a member of the Northern Regional Committee as well. And the reason for me going for the council, as offering myself as a candidate for the council, the reason is this, that I also want to make a contribution in ICAP, changing a few things, maybe doing a few reforms that would be beneficial for our future generations. And the saying of Qaid-e-Azam is all very, very important, always to me and for all of us. With faith, discipline, and selfless devotion to duty, there is nothing worthwhile that you cannot achieve.